over submissions. That requires me to have a good crossface and also to have this elbow away from his body. Okay, so we're gonna focus on that first. All right, so we're gonna start in a normal like chest to chest position like we just got to the side. Okay, from here, I need to get this arm under the head, and a lot of times the head can be pretty heavy. This can be hard to do. Not to mention, even if his head is kind of high, I want a deep grip here, and I can't always get that if he's somewhat low to the net. So I'm going to use this arm and start to lift his shoulder so I can really take all the slack out of my arm and get a deep bite into his armpit with my middle fingers, okay? Once I get this deep bite, I'm going to pull him to me as I bring my shoulder to my wrist, okay? So I'm almost like pulling my elbow back and up, and I'm bringing my shoulder forwards, okay? This is really gonna create pressure where I twist his spine and make it harder for him to move. Now, this is good, but it's just the start, all right? I have to get his other elbow off the ground, not just to submit him, but to make sure it's harder for him to turn into me. So what I'm gonna do here at this point is I'm gonna start to walk into his legs, okay? So very basic. My hips are turning his knees. Now, at this point, I'm not really using this hand, okay? Another thing we can do here, this is optional, but it will help a lot, okay? I'll make a grip on his pants, and as I walk, I'll use this grip to turn his knees away from me, okay? So as I'm walking, I can also use this hand to push his knees, okay? Now, from here, the main thing I'm trying to do is get my left knee under his elbow, okay? So right now my knee is pretty much past his elbow. I'm walking this way to make the knee lower. So now when I start to walk back up, I can use that knee to separate his elbow from his body. And now we have like a full upper body side control here. We're gonna start here. I'm gonna use the far hand to lift so I can punch this cross face deep. I'm gonna get my shoulder towards my hand and my elbow towards my knee, okay? Remember, this detail where we grab the pants, it's supplemental. The main thing I'm doing here is I'm walking towards the hips to get my knee inside of his elbow. Once I feel my knee inside of his elbow, I'm gonna bring it up and start to walk so I get his elbow on top of my hip here. All right, so before we start hitting our step overs, let's talk about the first good key option we have here. It's actually arguably a stronger way to do the crossface. So at any point here, I can look to pull his nearest or his far side lapel out of his belt, okay? And when I do that, I'm gonna look to pop it down to take the slack out, okay? As soon as I got all that slack out of the far side lapel, I'm gonna punch it under his armpit, and I'm gonna make a palm down grip, okay? Now I'm gonna do all the same things I would normally do with my fingers in the armpit. I'm gonna pull my elbow up and drive my shoulder forwards. You guys will feel that now that you have a good connection here, a stronger connection, this isn't gonna slip as much as the armpit can sometimes do, okay? Because like, think about it, what is he really gonna try to do here? He's gonna be moving away, go ahead. Try to get his elbow down, and you guys feel like your hand slips here a lot, okay? This can be difficult to hold on to sometimes, okay? So rather than just focusing on really jamming this elbow back, now we can use this strong connection with the fabric and not have to do that action with the elbow as much. Like, try to slide away now. See, it's much more difficult. This is a very good connection here, okay? We can use this as almost like a dilemma for him, okay? We can use a position we call a fake knee on belly to give him the instinct or reaction that we're gonna go to mount here, okay? So I'm gonna slide my knee over. And so this goes along with what I just said. If I bring this knee up and he does not do anything, he keeps his hand up, we're underhooking and we're going to mount, okay? Well, most people here, as even more advanced people, experts, they're gonna be like, okay, he's going to get a better position here. They're gonna try to stop this knee from coming over, okay? That's gonna be a very easy time to find this wrist, all right? So when he does this is very important, okay? We're grabbing the wrist like we're grabbing a kimura, okay? We're not grabbing this way, okay? If I grab this way and try to control it and he moves, your wrist is very weak there, your shoulder is very weak there. If I grab it this way and pin it and he tries to move, it's very difficult. It's gonna take him some time to get out of this. So guys, when I grab this and I pin it, I'm putting weight into it so he can't lift and push, okay? This is what's gonna set up my step over. Now, when we do the step over, what I want to do is I want to slide my back knee up high. That's my right knee in this case, and I want to touch my foot to his ribs, okay? A very easy way to do this is a backwards motion. We'll talk about forwards motions in the next class. So the backwards motion, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drive my head over his head, and I'm going to sit on that right hip, okay? As I do that, a lot of times he'll do this for me or with me. He'll start coming towards me, okay? If he does not, I'm going to use the crossface arm to, again, start lifting his shoulder, okay? As soon as I feel his shoulder lift, I'm just going to clear his arm, and I'm going to get my left leg over the shoulder here. This is what's going to set up our chain of submissions here, all right? Now, from here, the next thing I need to do, and this is why I put my foot on the ribs, is just simply kick this leg out and then cross it over the top. For now, I'm going to tell you to put that second leg on top. Here's why. If Ramiro bridges right now and tries to lay on my legs, this leg's going to stop him. If I flip-flop, he's going to lay on this leg and he's going to pin it. And it's going to get stuck underneath him. I don't want that. All variations aside, we're bringing our knee to the stomach and we're waiting for that reaction of him to push the knee. I'm going to control his wrist, and I'm going to make sure, you guys can't see it now, but I'm really driving pressure into that wrist. I can't let it separate. It's going to complicate things. Now here, right knee sliding up. My right foot's touching his rib cage right now. I'm going to lean my head over his head, and I'm sitting to my right hip. I am not sitting straight back. I am not stepping up. This is very important. It's going to make it really easy to make that small step here, okay? As soon as I make that small step, you need to ensure that this leg stays on bottom. Good news is it's kind of hard to mess up, okay? Intuitively, this leg's going to come out and it's just going to go right over the top. Okay, especially if you're going with other beginners, okay, they're going to be moving a little less calculated and trying to get to dominant positions a little bit quicker, okay? So a lot of times as you step over here, you might want to drive them to the ground, but with all this momentum, he is going to come up to his knees. But the good news is he's coming up right into this trap, right to the triangle choke. Now, don't be too overconfident here, okay? While this is a very common submission, it's very good. Okay, if we're not doing the right things here, he could escape very easily, okay? So, first thing when you're in a triangle choke, we're going to talk about all the important checkpoints here. Okay? I need to control his posture. The straighter his spine gets, the weaker my legs get. The more space there is here, he can get his hand back inside. Yeah, none of those are good things. So I'm always going to control his head first. Okay? The second thing, the circumference here. Okay? If I have shorter legs or I'm not as flexible or he has really big shoulders, I want to make this space less wide, and that's going to be dictated by his shoulder and arm. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to extend my hips. I'm going to push his elbow across, okay? Right away, that's going to give you more slack out of your legs here, okay? This can be done with either arm, okay? Now, from here, we're actually going to start tightening the choke now. So I'm going to open my feet and pinch my knees. I'm going to use this to cut off to the side. As I cut off to the side, I want to make sure this leg is getting flush with the neck, okay? To really put the stamp on this and encapsulate it, I'm going to pull my shin down, okay? So it stays with this clean bite on his neck, okay? Now, I'm making his back disappear from the lock when I do this. The next thing I need to do is make his shoulder disappear. So I'm going to take my other knee and I'm going to internally rotate it in front of his shoulder. So if you're right here, you should only see his head and his arm, okay? Then from here, as I lift my leg, I'm not going to lock shallow. I'm going to do my absolute best to bring my knee down my shin as much as possible so I have a tighter lock here, okay? The very last checkpoint here, you will tap people here a lot, okay? But if it's not tight enough, we're going to make a perpendicular angle. So I'm going to take my hand that's not controlling the shin, I'm going to go under his armpit on the same side, loop through, and then just connect my hands, okay? Guys, do not let go of his head when you do this. It's going to be very weak. Stay around his head. Okay, head to head, and then I'm just going to stop my feet to get the finish. All right, this time, he comes all the way to the top and he follows right into the triangle, okay? Remember, as soon as you enter into this position, get control of the posture. This is first and foremost. Don't get too excited here. and start letting him like rack up his defense, okay? From here, I'm gonna extend my hips, push the elbow across, okay? Open my feet. When I do that, I wanna make sure I'm pinching my knees. I'm not wide here, okay? As soon as I chop this leg, I really encapsulate by grabbing the shin, okay? Guys, even if you're flexible, if you let go of the shin here and he starts coming up, you're gonna lock a looser triangle. That's why I'm telling you not to let go of your shin when you do this, okay? Cover the shoulder. See, Grant's closer to my size. I can almost get my knees all the way together. That's gonna make a way tighter triangle. You'll tap a lot of people here if you can do that. If you can't, which is common, I'm gonna go under, pass his head, lock a grip, and then just stop my heels to the ground. Sorry, buddy. Now, basics class, we looked at if we're losing the top position, he can come on top. And we can start to look at things like triangles, okay? I'm gonna kind of skip that for now. Let's look at maintaining this position first. So we're gonna go right back to that Monoplata series, right? So what I'm gonna do here to make sure that he doesn't come up, and more importantly, to flatten him out, is I need to straighten this top leg, all right? The more I straighten that hamstring, the more I drive Grant back to the floor. Okay? Yeah, see, I'm still on my elbow. That's where I want to be. I'm going to take this hand, and I'm going to stuff his wrist into my pocket. I'm going to take this hand and control his elbow, okay? So now I'm making that Kimura angle. If you haven't done a Monoplata before, it's basically a Kimura with your legs and hips, okay? Now, to start to cinch my position, I'm going to pull that far foot in, okay? Move your shoulder and elbow up and down. Okay, see there's a lot of laxity there. We're gonna do two things here to kill that. I'm gonna bring this knee towards his elbow. Okay, move a little more now. Okay, now I'm gonna scoot my hips forwards. Sorry. So my hips are bringing his elbow in a straight line with his shoulder. Can you move your arm now? Go. Yeah, sorry. Stop. I'm gonna go really gentle here so I don't hurt my friend. All right, guys. For those of you that have been here Monday and Tuesday, this is what we need to do a better job of. When you go to finish, this knee should not be relaxed. Okay, this is what I'm seeing this week when you guys go for this. Grant's gonna start sitting up. And when he sits up, that gives him more time. It's like when you step over the head when you do a Kimura, right? So from here, this knee should go down. This knee should go up as your hips go this way. And up to the ceiling. You guys, make sure this leg is always on top if you're playing here for a little bit. If you put this on bottom and he bridges, he's gonna lay on top of your leg. Go ahead. Yes, that leg's gonna get stuck. Whereas here, if he bridges, this leg's gonna stop him from going anywhere, okay? Make sure you're jamming his wrist into your pocket. You're holding onto the elbow, okay? Now to make this tight, again, I want my knee going towards his elbow, and I want my hips going forwards, okay? Watch the difference, move your arm a little bit. See, too much. How about now? A little bit better. How about now? See, barely, sorry. Now as we finish, this knee is going up, this knee is going down. This one's really important again so he doesn't sit up. Hips are going this way and then up. Now, two reasons to switch to the armbar, okay? A, I wasn't fast enough or strong enough to push his wrist into my pocket, and what he's gonna do here a lot of times is he's gonna turn his thumb up to take that motion away from me. Okay, you guys probably felt that at some point. The second thing is if I start to find any situation where I'm sitting here, okay, on like both butt cheeks versus laying on my hip, I'm generally no longer gonna go for a Monoplata. I'm gonna go for the armbar now, okay? So let's talk about it in combination, okay? So from here, typically, the shortest thing that can happen if we're doing everything properly and he's just generally defending is he's gonna rotate that thumb up, okay? So once his thumb gets so high here, it's gonna be really tough to push this back in. So we're just gonna let him do that. I'm gonna hold on to the elbow, and now I'm gonna get up to my hand, okay? I'm gonna use this detail to start to shift my hips so I can attack the armbar. I'm not gonna attack the armbar from this angle. I'm at the wrong orientation. This is when we're starting to get more in line with the shoulder. This is good for an armbar, okay? Now, this is not a traditional armbar where we're holding the wrist and we're here, okay? So we'll call a spiral armbar, a lat style armbar, because you're literally gonna finish this by pinching your lats, okay? So from here, I'm lifting and I'm pulling his wrist bone into my armpit, and and I'm gonna switch hands, okay? My legs, very important here. Right now it's pretty loose. To tighten this up, I'm gonna take that bottom leg we were using earlier, I'm gonna put my foot behind its head, and I'm gonna pull both feet towards me. It's gonna start to make this really tight, okay? The last time we did this, we just finished right here, and a lot of times you will, I'd say most of the time even, okay? Now, a little detail we're adding this week versus the last time we did this, okay? People's defenses here. Even though lat style arm bars are good and they're slightly different, a lot of his arm bar defenses are still valid here. For example, there's no control over Grant's lower body. He could easily split his legs and start getting on top of him here. And in a lot of scenarios there, I could still finish him, but I would prefer, again, to maintain a top position, okay? So this is a big part of why I switched from here to here. Now I can use this hand to control his legs. So now I'm falling to my right hips. It should be very hard for him to get up now. And now from here, we're not laying back. All I need to do is touch my shoulder blades together, and that'll finish the arm bar. Be very careful with this one. It's tight really fast. And we're not doing this like a regular arm bar. What do you do in a regular arm bar? You fall back, and you pull the wrist with you, right? A lot of you are keeping this here, but you're still doing it like you are falling back, and what's happening? That hand's popping out. So guys, I make that analogy like you're doing rows at the gym. Okay, you're not really leaning straight back, you're trying to pinch those shoulder blades together, really engage the lats. Okay, that's why some people call this a lat style arm bar. Okay, so you're really just doing this. Watch, I'm not gonna lay back at all. Here. Yeah. Okay, and see his hand doesn't slide out when I do that. Turn your palm down, please. All right. So a lot of you were getting here with each other, like you didn't even realize like either person's, you know, having the issue here. But you get here and you're like, oh shit, he's not tapping. Alright, so remember guys, so when we finished it a few months ago, a big thing I had you guys do to remind yourself to like correct the elbow position is to take this and internally rotate the elbow. So look at his thumb, now his thumb's up, just like a regular arm bar, right? Okay. So in this scenario, I mean, we don't need to use both hands. Like, turn your palm down again. Like literally just scoop this in. That'll make it much, much tighter. So leaning, stepping over, kicking through. We got our monoplata position. Remember, if you're running into resistance where you feel like he's coming up, you're gonna bully him with this top leg, okay, until you can settle. All right, see right away he did the right thing. His arm's already straight. I'm not even gonna bother with the monoplata. I'm just gonna go right to the spiral. So I hold the elbow, I come up. Remember, a big part of getting on your hand here is to get off of your hip into a sitting position here, okay? As soon as we get here, I'm looking to get control over his shoulders here, okay? So I'm gonna take this outside knee, that's my left knee, I'm gonna pull it in. A good little reminder that you're in the right spot here is like take your left toe and touch your right heel, okay? And then from there, just pull your legs in, all right? I'm gonna switch hands. I'm going to start to go for his leg. Guys, don't try to stay sitting and reach for the leg. When you go to finish with scooping the leg, now go to your right hip. Okay? This is going to be pretty tight. Now all you need to do is touch your shoulders together. It only takes a little bit. We have a really strong option, okay? This is arguably in the gi just as common as falling backwards, all right? So we're again going to still manipulate the lapel. Pop this down. And instead of punching it under for that crossface grip, we're gonna bring it over his arm and use it to trap his arm in place here, okay? So I'm gonna go here, down, and then over, and then we're gonna hold the lapel here, okay? There's a lot of different types of submissions here, okay? We could go for baseball bat chokes, Ezekiel chokes, lots of things, okay? Arguably more common though, this is where we're gonna step over to mount, all right? So, no-gi we looked at just leaning into our knee, tucking our foot, and again stepping over, okay? I brought this detail up a little bit in the basics class, okay? That detail being manipulating the legs, okay? Also another benefit we have in the gi with grips on the pants, all right? So from here, what I can look to do is literally just grab his knee. In some cases I could pull and even get a leg weave too, and start to use these grips to make his legs face away, all right?
The reason why I would want to do this is, again, we got to think of like how he's going to get his guard back, right? Okay. So if I stay here and I hit a lazy step over, even without his hands, he could still catch my leg in a half guard situation. All right. So there's always going to be a big benefit here in steering his legs away. All right. Now from here, regardless of the grip, again, especially if you're not flexible, I need my right hip and leg to be very mobile here. So I'm going to lean hard. Okay. It's going to allow me to make that big step. Now, I want you guys to pause here to go over the finer details. All right. A huge part of going for mounted triangles is lifting your partner's head off the ground. In this case, it's to get a good bite with my choking leg, okay? So I'm gonna lift and I'm gonna stretch this leg so I feel my hamstring going into the leg, okay? As soon as I do that, I'm gonna look to encapsulate here, okay? Now, a couple things here to make this tight, all right? Again, if you're flexible, you don't really need to bring the arm across if your legs are long, whatever the case is. However, it's not gonna be a terrible idea to shorten this space right here, okay? So guys, basically almost everything we did in the basics class for the triangle, we're doing it upside down right now. Okay, look at it that way. The next thing I need to do is lift his head again. Okay, so from here, I'm gonna grab my shin, okay? I'm gonna post this foot and I'm gonna start to move this way to lift his head, okay? Now, if you guys have trouble lifting the head here, something you can do, okay? The hand's not working out for you, you can actually go lower here, all right? So in the event that you're not flexible enough here to do this, put your elbow on the ground and put your forehead on the ground too, and then you can lift them up even higher, okay? Now, just like the regular triangle, I wanna hide his shoulder with my knee, get the shoulder out of the lock, okay? At the same time, I'm trying to pull this past his shoulder. That's gonna make the mounted triangle really tight. And now from here, again, I get my knee as close to my other knee as possible, and then I bring my heels out. And now to finish, again, I want to make that perpendicular angle, so I'm going to walk my hands as my left knee internally rotates, okay? A good stopping point here, guys, if he's not tapping, which most times he will be, is going to his far leg here. Now he can't use his hand to push, right? So we're going here. Guys, big lean so this gets light. If you don't lean, it's not light. Now it's light. Step over, drive. Make sure that bicep of your leg is cutting right into the neck here, okay? And then curl. Hips forwards to bring the arm through. Okay? I'm gonna grab my shin to make sure my foot is getting past his shoulder here. Again, if you start to push up off your foot, it's just not enough. Elbow, forehead, okay? Knee in front of the shoulder, lock. And then we'll start to turn. So here, go, shoulder roll off too, come this way. But again, you are giving up the top position. Heavyweights, or people with generally shorter legs. This is another thing people typically do in the mounted triangle when they're having trouble making the choke tight. And this is with any triangle, really. Okay, you get here, you start to lock up, and you look for things like the triangle armbar on top. Kimuras, you can also wrist lock the person here. There's lots of good options here. Guys, the good news here is, like, this is another reason I had you guys stop here. You don't necessarily need to advance the leg under, okay? We might do this next week. This is also, again, yet another good setup for a lap style armbar, okay? So you probably felt here, like you could just raise this, step over,